What is up, everybody? Lyle, no hippie trucking and transportation. Just sitting here chilling a minute. See if anybody comes in here on what is a dreary Saturday in Colorado. All right, man. Let me tell you. Anybody comes in here, just say what's up and where you at. Just a city, state, so I can get a little orientation. California, a little bit further north than I want to take my ass right now. Before I get into kind of what's bothering me a little bit today, I mean, it's not a big thing, but if you happen to be wanting to drive through Colorado in the next couple of years, the cameras that they've had placed throughout the state aren't going to be available because the contract ran out. So if you happen to be wanting to drive over 70 and want to take a look at what the highway is looking like, won't be able to do that. So that sucks right there. Justin delivering to Olney, Illinois Walmart. I kind of like that Walmart. Usually you can find parking at that Love's down there. And at least if you're a Prime, we do have that drop yard down there. So there's always somewhere to go if you can't find parking. So that's good. So actually, I just had a couple things I want to talk about real quick. Second one I'll hold out for, I'm going to get to this first one first, but anybody else in the house? I know it's a Saturday. People might be out running. Official trucker, what's up, man? Or off-grid trucker. It's a little dim in here, hard for me to see. I got my other phone kind of on so I can read the comments if I had to. But guess I don't want to drag it out too long. Two things I want to talk about. First thing is I know I haven't put out like a regular video in a long time, and I've had some people ask me some questions in the comments that I'm going to probably start doing some regular videos instead of these lives as much. I like the lives a lot better, but some of these questions I have to answer. And I was thinking back to why I stopped making regular videos. And it was because Prime was at this moment of flux where you didn't know what direction they were going. I mean, they still kind of are like that in a way, but I didn't really want to speak on shit because they were changing stuff every other day and stuff like that. So I just decided to just stop doing it. It seems like that's leveled out a bit. So I feel a little bit more comfortable on that. But I've had a couple questions come up and I just can't. I mean, I can do them in a live, but a lot of people aren't going to sit through that whole thing. But I had one person, this was one that actually kind of hurt my heart a little bit. But he was basically saying that I'm 40 years old. I'm looking to get into trucking. Can trucking save a 40-year-old loser? So I thought that was going to take like a little bit more of a regular video. And then I had another person ask me, can I speak more on rates per mile, maintenance, repairs? So far from watching you guys' channels, you like to be off for a month and hit the road again. What can I learn about leasing with Prime? So I'll probably get into that a little bit more in a regular video. So those, I'll probably start trying to get back a little bit to that, as much as I like just being able to turn on the camera and not worry about it. Let's see. Craig, what's up? All right, let me open up this camera over here, or this over here, because I can't read this text is a little too small. All right. What's up, brother? Where are you from? I'm from Denver, Colorado. Off-grid trucker saying that's why you left Prime. Yep, I'm still at Prime. If you were asking me. I'm from India. What's up from India? Actually, my boy from India, that guy that put out that rap song, that song is fire right there. Let's see. Bill did OTR for a year, never again. I understand that. Local work now, job still sucks. You know, there's a trade-off either way you go on that. Trucking can definitely save your 40-year-old ass. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. Get a little bit deeper than that. But yeah, essentially. And right now I am in Denver, Colorado. I'm trying to fill up the tanks before I leave. You know what I mean? I'm not sure when I'm going to leave, but no sooner than 2 weeks from now. All right. Bill asked am I lease or company? I am lease. Now, at Prime, there's a couple different programs. They got a lease and a lease purchase. I've completed my lease purchase. So my truck's paid for right now. So I'm not under the same stress. But even with the stress, I looked at my paycheck last week. I think I did, and I'm just saying this because somebody, some people have been asking, $2,600 to the bank account, $1,100 to the emergency fund. So that's 26, 36, 37. It's like $3,700. So I'll take, and if you had a truck payment, subtract about 1,200, whatever from that. And that's still a good week. Lupe, how are home days calculated? I've been thinking about how I want to calculate this. The way I kind of look at it is I'm going to take off 2 days for every week I'm off, plus a quarter day for every week. And that quarter day is just because, every other person that works at Prime or anywhere else has 2 days off a week and they're home every night. So I'm going to add a quarter day to every week, and that's going to give me what my minimum home time is going to be. But that's how I calculate it. Other people calculate it different ways. Some people just, I don't know. I've been thinking about this. I got home on the 8th, so it's the 11th now. I haven't even wanted to fucking leave the house. I'll be honest with you. I mean, today's like the first day when I felt like, okay, let me just get out, and do whatever. But I haven't even wanted to leave the house, to be honest with you. And then my wife went and bought a fucking brisket. So now I got to deal with that. And I haven't cooked barbecue. I think I haven't cooked barbecue since my last barbecue video on my cooking channel. And that's been at least 7 years. So I'm going to cheat on this brisket. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to probably, put the brisket in a smoker. I'm not sure if I'm going to use a wood one, a pellet one, probably a pellet one since I'm out of practice. Throw it in the pellet, put it in there. Like, I'm going to cook it a little hotter than normal, maybe at about 290 degrees, and then let that go for about 7 hours. After it absorbs all the smoke it can absorb, take it out, throw a little bit of beef tallow on it, and then throw it, wrap it up in some butcher paper and throw it in the oven. I'm a cheat on this one. I'm just telling you. I'm out of practice, and I think the brisket was $80, and failing on an $80 brisket is like not what I'm trying to do. I mean, I guess you could always turn it into something else, but All right. All right, watch out. There's a black guy behind me. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to you or me. All right, Obama 2028. You told her too. Prime really needs to change out that 3-year lease rule on paid off trucks. Absolutely. I understand phasing off trucks based on mileage more than age. Absolutely. My truck right now has like 370,000 miles on it. And it's fourth years come. And it's going to be accumulating less miles than that because that truck was when I was in my sympathy phase training people. So I've trained a few people in that truck, which I'm not going to do. And I wasn't taking as much time off. I have one of the higher payments and I'm bringing home decent money. Can always be more, but on average, 1,200 free and clear after expenses, taxes, and 600 to the e-fund. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, the other thing I want to talk about was this stuff that's like really disappointing me, and it's this kind of political shit that's going on right now. And everybody's gonna have their political beliefs and stuff like that. And trust me, I got mine, and I believe most people on here understand what mine are. But this whole, and this really comes out of my family, not my immediate family, but I posted up something on Facebook, and I really don't post that much political shit. But this was one that kind of hit me. It was about this Air Force base and all this shit and in Idaho or whatever. So I just posted that up, and somebody that I know that has different political views than I did posted something under that. Probably went a little bit more than I would have done, but I had a cousin of mine that jumped in there and just said, I don't know where you get your friends from. And I was just, what? That really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Well, both of them kind of rubbed me the wrong way, first of all. But, I've always prided myself in being like able to move in any space. You know what I mean? Whether that's being, I don't know. I've just moved in, a lot of people that are on here that are watching this right now, I talk to pretty fucking frequently, and we share absolutely differing opinions. Some more than others. I mean, but I've never let that stand in the way of friendship or anything like that. You know what I mean? I mean, I can have a different opinion than somebody and not necessarily be like, let me throw the baby out with the bathwater, or feel like their opinion makes them a bad person or whatever. And I've just been seeing a lot of that going on, and that's been rubbing me the wrong way a, a lot. You know what I mean? And um it's sad to see that happening. And it used to be a time when you used to be able to just be whatever you were, and everything about your fucking life wasn't about what your political affiliation was. And I'm gonna say at least go back to like 2000, like let's say early 2000s. You know what I mean? Everybody said who they wanted to win. When it was over, it was over. You didn't have all this shit where motherfuckers were out here. Basically, their entire identity is based on what that shit is, and they can't, like, you had, and I mean you still have it to some degree. I mean, you got James Carville and Mary Magdalene or whatever. One is a Republican talking head, and one is Democrat, and they're married. But I mean, for the most part, you used to have a lot more of that. Now, these days, if you aren't in somebody's political party, you might as well you're cutting off half the people that you could spend your life with just based on that. And that shit is just I just find it a little I don't know. Like, anyway. What's up, Shamarcus? I actually listened to your video last night, but I was probably sleeping through it. So I got to watch it again because I had it queued up and then I woke up this morning and I'd already gone through my playlist and only remembered about a third of it. All right. Craig is one of those people that I was talking about. He says, you and I are from different generations where we accept people having their own beliefs and still respect them as a person. We don't have to agree or believe in the same things. So that's kind of one of the things I find sad. Now, another thing that I find a little bit sad, and I just hate seeing it, or it's not, all right. So let's just talk about this English speaking shit like that. I understand that. And I think this is where people misunderstand what I'm talking about. If it was just like where people said, this is, we don't need anybody in America because, or anybody from other countries that can't speak English and all that kind of stuff because they're like a danger on the road, all that kind of stuff. Hey, I'm all for that. But I just think there's a lot of underlying shit that's coming along with that. And a lot of it's coming from, I don't know, you pick why it might be coming from, but a lot of it's coming from as long as there's somebody else to blame for something, you can underperform and still not be able to put the whole blame on yourself. And that's one thing. Listen, I I think, okay, so I had two dads. I grew up with the stepdad who was the preacher and all that, and then I had my real father who was like more of a businessman, executive at IBM, all that kind of stuff. I never would have known what his political affiliation was until one time I was already grown. I was probably, I had to have been 35 at the time. So 20 years ago, 22 years ago, somewhere in there. And I think it was before politics got crazy. So it might have been that whole, it was before it might have been, fuck, I don't know, just say early 2000, whatever. So I think I was at his house. We were watching news, and I don't know if I brought it up just to kind of probe him or whatever, but he just at one point he said, I'll never have enough money to vote Republican. That's what he said. So that's the only way I knew where he was at. It wasn't like it was ever thrown in my face. It was like, it was never like, this is what you have to be, or, nothing like that. It was like, and I mean, it was what I expected, but it still wasn't like I was ever, like, we just never spoke about that shit. You know what I mean? So anyway, that stuff's been pretty disappointing. Seeing a lot of this stuff coming up, and the person that left the comment on my Facebook page that left a long ass comment that my cousin replied to, I was just like, let me let this shit just go. I mean, I was almost thinking, let me just delete the whole thing. But then I was like, I'm just not even going to respond to any of that shit. I'm not going to, I'll just leave it where it's at. You know what I mean? So, anyway. Some other shit I want to talk about too. I forgot about it. Think something that I was wanting to bring up, or I thought I touched on it a little bit in the last video when I was talking about credit a little bit. And I was mentioning that I would encourage people not to go get a bunch of fucking credit just to have credit or anything like that. I mean, But if you really think, maybe this goes to a conversation I was having with somebody else. When it comes to credit, a lot of people are misunderstood on what gives you a good credit score and why. And a lot of it, people would say, well, you pay your bills on time, or, it's like how much money you make, or all this kind of stuff. And all those play a factor, how long you've had credit. But really, when you have a good credit score, all it's saying, it has nothing to do with your ability to pay, your desire to pay, your track record of paying. Really, what it's saying is this person is stable. It's that simple. Because you could have all the money in the world. Do you know how many football players I did loans for, or attempted to do loans for, that I couldn't do loans for because they weren't paying their bills? Not because they couldn't pay their bills, but they just weren't. I don't know. Or people that had a good job, been on the job a long time, but actually opposite of that. They've always paid their bills on time, but they've job hopped and done all that kind of stuff. Even if you pay your bills on time, have good credit, all that kind of stuff, if you're job hopping, you are not stable. So I think a lot of people misunderstand what having a good credit score means and what it says, or what they're looking at, or why they give it to you. All right, let me see. Cold content, what's up? I think the internet has done a lot of damage to I think the internet's done a lot of damage, and I am happy to say that I grew up in an age where I think the first time I actually even got on the internet was probably like 96. And this was back before you actually had them in your house. I was like at a dealership at the time selling cars, and we had a computer there, and it had, if you guys remember this shit, it was not Internet Explorer. What was that browser that was like one of the first browsers? It was like Escape or something like that. Anyway, Romania, what's up? So anyway, that was my first introduction into it. I don't even think I had a computer in my house until I think I had to get, okay, so yeah, it was when I first got into banking, so it was like 99, and I never had a phone. I didn't have a cell phone, none of that. I think I had one, and I was like, why am I carrying this shit around? I think I got one in 96, and then it was like, phones were expensive back in the day, them phone plans, so I just said, fuck that. So I didn't get another phone until I got into banking. This is like 99. And I got a computer and a phone because I had to have access to me a little bit more often. But even then, we weren't dealing with this kind of shit like we are now. I would say Facebook is really the problem. Never had this problem with MySpace or anything like that. I mean, it's been Facebook that's been the problem with a lot of this shit. So yeah, Netscape, that might be it. Okay, I had a Commodore 64, Craig, but my brother used to get into that more than me. He used to like have the little dial-up thing. I don't even remember what he was doing. He was getting like, it wasn't even like he was going anywhere useful on that shit. But that would have been like 86. I can remember him like dialing up and putting the phone thing on the receiver on the thing. But since we're talking about old school stuff, if there's anybody in here older than, I don't know how old you'd have to be, the best video game ever, some of you young guys are going to be like, I don't even know what you're going to say. Like But the best one ever in television back in like 82, 81, whatever. That was the shit right there. Forget Atari, all that kind of stuff. You going to work? Did you when he gets home, is Andrew gonna be able to pull out his toy?
Yeah. I'll just put the back in there.
Yeah, see, I'm at home right now, and I'm not one to be buying a bunch of shit, but last time I came home, or before I came home, I bought my grandson some toys, it was like some battery operated shit, and then everybody else, then my son comes in, tries to fucking cock block me with some other shit. So I came in with a checkmate on this one. So when he gets home, he will have the most awesome toy to play with ever. Man, I can't believe somebody knows in television. Man, the football game was good too. Pitfall was excellent. What was the one when they were out of space? That was all right. I think I like baseball too. And then the poker game. Man. But even back then, even if we had video games, we were still out at the arcades. Pole position, I think I remember playing that at the arcades. Man, I don't remember Fallout 1. But here, before I go any further, seriously, if we could just, man, I'm going to try to do this like one person at a time. Just not be, just, this political shit is really fucking with, it's really disappointing. I mean, more than I could even express. Because this, and I'm not even thinking about, if there's going to be any friends or whatever of mine that are going to ditch me because of that, I really don't give a fuck about that. But when people are letting that tear up like real relationships and shit like that, or even family type shit, you know what I'm saying? That's going a little bit too fucking far. All right, I'm done with that. I just had to get that out of the way. Johnny B, yeah, the sports games were way ahead of Atari. Man, that hand controller, it was kind of like this for those you guys don't know, but it had like a little swivel, like a little circle thing that you just kind of swivel instead of like a joystick, and then you had like a little plastic card that you used to put in there that you could use on different games or whatever. So that shit was awesome. I'm just telling you. I can't even play these games nowadays. When my son was growing up, he was playing all these games. And I'd sit down here and look at him, and it's like I couldn't even understand the perspective at which these guys are looking at different things at. And speaking of games, when he would fuck up, I would hide his game so good, I wouldn't even be able to find it when his punishment was over. That's how. And I hated fucking games too. Like I didn't hate games like when I was playing games, because we used to play games for an hour, maybe two. These motherfuckers are playing games all day long. All right. Roller rink and arcades were a hit. Man, I still remember skating to it could have been Rod Stewart or Billy Squire or Sugar Hill Gang back in the day. And then when a bad song came on, you used to go up there and hit up that Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Those were kind of the major games. And you had oh man, I'm gonna tell you a real story from back in the days. But yeah, remember when politics, religion, and finance was kept in the four walls of your house? We need to get back to that. Absolutely. My favorite all-time game was Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Wait, is there like a hand thing to control it?
Mm-hmm.
They don't burn out the battery.
They're rechargeable.
I know, but when he gets here, I want him. And hey, when he gets here, tell your mom to tell him I gave him that shit. I don't want nobody to get no credit but me. Is that thing talking and everything too? Man, I killed that game. Man, hey. I killed this game. Shit. All right. Anyway. All right. So asteroids. Okay. Funny thing about asteroids. I never had that on a video game, but I used to ride my bike 2 miles to the grocery store with like $3 in quarters to go play asteroids at the front of the grocery store, King Supers. So, all right. But anyway, talking about pinball machines. Actually, I had a pinball machine in my house back in the day, but after a while, that one pinball machine gets a little boring. But when I was real little, we're talking about like 19, and here's something that this newer generation need. My parents would have, or my mom, should I say, would have gone to jail for having us come home from school at 2 in the afternoon and hanging out till 6 or whatever. Hey, don't wear the batteries out. Shoot. Where's the hand thing at? Oh yeah. Checkmate.
You want to try it?
No, you could. You think he's gonna figure it out?
Yeah.
Yep. As a matter of fact, when he comes home, I might have to play a little video for him. I like it when you call me Big Papa. All right. Have a good day. All right. So anyway, all right. I got him. I don't know if you guys could see it down there, but there's like this. I'd like to turn around, but there's this little toy, but it's like you could either use a remote, or you can like put this little hand thing on, and then you could like move it with your hand, so you could like do all this shit and do it, or you could use this remote control, but it's got like lit up wheels and all this kind of stuff, and it like can go like all these different directions. So anyway, these nuts, what's up? Let's see. Let me get back up here where I was at. My favorite. All right, we already got to that. Oh, so anyway, pinball machines, 1975-ish, something like that. So let's see. If I was 68, 69, 71. Yeah, 65, or not 65, 70. It couldn't have been any later than 78, because that's when I moved into the house where I met my best friend. But let's just call it 78. So I lived down in these apartment complexes, which is another fucking thing that pissed me off. My dad's living in this big ass house in Boulder and all this shit back in the day, and I'm in this little ass apartment and shit. But anyway, beside the point. Down the street was a 7-Eleven. And then now, I forget what it was called back then, but now it's called Sunset Lounge. It's just a bar. But back in the day, it was a strip club. And we didn't know what we were looking at. Me and my boys, we'd ride down there to the strip club and be hanging out behind the strip club where all the girls would be out smoking and doing all that shit when they were done doing whatever they were doing. So we'd just be out there hanging out. And they would like actually write us notes to go to the 7-Eleven like a quarter mile down the road and then get them some cigarettes and come back, and they'd give us like $1 or $2. That was enough to play like, a quarter a game in pinball. So that's what we used to do. All right. Totally different day and time back then. All right, blackmail, man. I don't know what you're talking about there. So yeah, that was those were good old times back then. I think those of us that are like in our, I would say our late 50s, a little bit more so even than, they say Generation X is from like 1965 to like 1980. I think us older ones, like the drinking age changed for a lot of us. Like we could drink when we were like 18 back in the day, which you can't, a lot of Gen X people couldn't do that. Um, the whole latchkey kid thing, especially for us older ones. I mean, you were on your own. Like, I think it was just a good ass era to cut. Like some fucked up shit too, obviously, but um, I look, and I'm not saying this in any bad way. I look at my kids, and I'm just like, they might have been too soft, or maybe we raised them too soft. I don't know, to go through some of that stuff. Getting spankings in school. All right, Jason Adams Family was my pinball game back in the day. I think one of the games that I was playing wasn't like a theme. I think there was like an Elvis theme one, but I think one of them was just like a custom van theme one that people used to play a lot. But back in the like early, well, not early, even after like even back into like when I was like 14 years old, we used to ride to the arcade. And remember that game that had the little car that rode up into the truck, like into the dry van truck or whatever, and then it would come back out and it would have like all these different special powers. Like it have spikes on the wheel, or else it could like drop oil or do whatever. Man, that was a fun game right there. All right. All right. Go. Tough times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and weak men create tough times, and the cycle repeats. Absolutely. You could look at people that have passed down money throughout the years. Actually, I don't know, is that a quote that somebody had said back in the day? Because I've actually read something that was similar to that. And it was basically talking about the cycle of people inheriting money and stuff like that. And I've kind of, yeah, I think I've heard that one before. Anyway. Man, a retro arcade would be awesome. Now, I don't know if I would waste a bunch of money on it. I think a lot of times you have people that have money that just waste it on dumb shit. An arcade would be one of them. I think it'll be fun. Jason, another thing I miss is drive-in movies. Uh-oh. Superstar Frey. My wife, for our anniversary, bought a Knob Creek single barrel reserve, 9-year, 120 proof. Still nice. I just don't know if you could beat that Penelope I had the other day. Yeah, this is a good bottle. I think that Penelope was a little bit better than this. But a lot of times when you're buying bourbon, it's just a shot in the dark. Even if you bought a specific type of bourbon before, it's never going to be exactly the same. So it's, I mean, it's still excellent. Trust me. All right, Jason, the Retro Arcade is only $20 for the whole day. They have all kinds of pinball games and classic arcade games. See, you could make a bunch of money. Listen, I would go there for $20 for a whole day. Kind of like Dave and Buster's. I would do it like that and make all the games free. I'd do it like a truck stop, like some of these Petros and shit. Buy so much money in here, the games are free. As a matter of fact, I'm getting tired of trucking. Maybe I need to come up with my own business plan here. Man, I had a dream I was out of trucking last night, too. I was like, probably where I'd never want to go again either, but I was back in the car business. Now, what brought that dream on? I have no idea. Craig is going to Quaker Steak Lube in Rafine, Virginia. Craig is one of the people I put on the little TA Petro, ultra credit, play out there, getting 60 gallons twice. I've never been to a Quaker Steak, though. One thing I will tell you, though, Craig, I love our fleet manager, but sometimes I know he didn't write this out, and I don't think I even have this. I deleted it. Sometimes I just think that if you haven't driven, you're overstepping your bounds a little bit too much, trying to give advice to people. You know what I mean? As far as how to run shit. So, Romaine the trucker, or should I say, Romaine be out there. He be making some shit up. Go check out Romaine the trucker. He's trying to get into like real YouTube videos and shit like that, where he's out there editing and doing all that kind of stuff. And we all know what some of the stories he tells, what his favorite editing software is. It's got to be CapCut. All right. Romaine knows what I'm talking about. Hey, Romaine, when you get off here, if you don't know, just go onto YouTube and type in "You're a Liar" by LL Cool J. It's got to be like 1987 when he was talking about how much Russell Simmons lied. Hilarious song. Yeah, Super Trucker. Romaine is not afraid to stretch the boundaries of the story when he's telling it. I was thinking I was about to go out and get some go out and have some dinner, but looks like my wife is picking up my grandkid, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going out with no grandkid. Romaine is good at clickbait too. Romaine is like an amateur when it comes to. All right. Romaine is an amateur when it comes to clickbait. Now, Slime Pack is like, she is very experienced. But her clickbait always has something to do with the video. Now, there's other people at Prime that'll put some clickbait out there, because I've had people, because I refuse watching them. I can't watch the shit anymore. But somebody knows I can't watch one just because I can't be tricked into watching shit. I just find it unethical. And somebody says, yeah, your boy put out a video and he like put this in the title, and not one time in the title was this thing mentioned. So at least Romaine isn't taking it that far. Jason, I'm up here in Colorado. I'm in Centennial, Colorado right now. So those of you guys that have been through Colorado, if you were to come in to Colorado off of I-70, right when you hit that Flying J, that's right near the airport, go south about 20 miles, and that's where I'm at. Super Trucker, you said you had a birthday tomorrow. Is that right? 57 years old, and trust me, I feel all 57 of them years. I like Virginia. As a matter of fact, Virginia is one of them places where if I'd ever thought about moving somewhere, that might be one of the places I was thinking about. I've thought about some odd places that I never would have thought about before, though. But Virginia, definitely a nice place. All right, Shamarcus, I appreciate it. Happy birthday to me, but man, I'm telling you, you just never know when them years start catching up on you. And I'm telling you, like 50 is when you can start noticing that shit. Like seriously, at least for me. Let me check and see where my wife's at right now. Bring this kid over here to play with this game because I'm tired of everybody trying to compete with me on the best games. Well, she's still at work. She ain't gonna be here for a while. All right, Romaine, happy birthday. All right, appreciate it. Don't move to upstate Virginia. The cost of living is insane. Yeah, I was kind of thinking about being more kind of in the sticks a little bit at this point. There was a time when I was trying to be in the mix. Now I'm trying to be as far away from people as I can. So I definitely would not be upstate near a bunch of people. Craig, my brain says my brain still feels like it's 30, but my body reminds me it's 50. I'm telling you. I don't think I've really been excited about a birthday since like 1981 when my mom died. That kind of like took all that. That took a lot of that shit away. Whether it be birthdays, Christmas, whatever. Then when I became a Marine, the only birthday, you can ask my wife, the only birthday I even acknowledge is the Marine Corps birthday, November 10th. So I don't even think about I'll think about it, but I don't celebrate my own birthday. So those of you people in here, ask me if it's an irrational fear for me to worry about a truck driver killing a bunch of people at a truck stop, a receiver, at a terminal, any of that kind of stuff. Because that is really on my mind. Is there's gonna be a truck driver that's like doesn't kill like somebody specifically, because that's happened before. But just like randomly, like a post office or a school shooting or something like that, just kills random people. It's on my mind. I think about that every fucking time I'm at a truck stop. And I don't think about it as often at receivers because I'm not around a lot of these people at receivers, but I mean, I have been around people As a matter of fact, I was just around one that lost it a while back. And he had a right to be upset, but he was like way more upset than like what it called for. And I don't know what was going on with his family. He could have been getting held up there and he had a kid on the way, or his wife was, leaving to go. It could have been a number of different things, but he was like, he took that way above and beyond what I would have thought. And that's what made me start really thinking about it again. Because I kind of thought about it. It's always been in the back of my head. But I mean, if you think about it, and listen, I'm not talking down to anybody or anything like that. But if you think about the way a lot of truck drivers think, and we're going to talk mainly, I think it would probably mainly come from an owner operator type situation, to be honest with you. But where if you think about it from a mentality, because when I first came in, owner operators were talking shit about company drivers. So you go from that, like where we're the kings and all this stuff, and you guys ain't shit, to where they're kind of getting really screwed, in their minds, really screwed over, all this kind of stuff. And then, you have all this stuff with whether it's non-English speaking drivers or it's like freight brokers or it's whatever. And, I don't know. I just think I think there's a lot of those guys that are ready to snap. New York Links. I get upset with shippers if I'm hungry and they're moving slow. Man, I love getting that free money. So if you can hold me over and I don't actually have another load scheduled yet, I'll sit there all day. Because one thing I will say about Prime is they will go for that detention. All right. So Craig says he likes rest areas and roadside pull-offs. Crazy shit happens at truck stops. I'll take a chance getting shot over going to a rest area. I cannot stand a rest area. That's one thing I can't stand. Yeah, rest area. D-trucking. You like sitting? Do reefer loads paid attention immediately? They don't all pay immediately, but what happens is they're usually trailing by, sometimes they do pay immediately, but sometimes they're trailing by 1 or 2 weeks. So if you're out and driving, you're always ending up getting this detention that is lagging behind. So like this is gonna be a good week right here. So I just did I had 2 loads, or maybe I think 2 loads that quite a bit of detention should be paid on. It didn't get paid out on this check, but I'm gonna be at home all week, at least a couple weeks. So the detention is gonna come in sometime during these next 2 weeks. So if I'm out driving, it's kind of padding my numbers. If I'm at home, it's like at least not making me go 200 or 300 negative or whatever it is. So All right, Johnny B. Hopefully, I'll be at Prime by 2027 as my last kid graduates and I retire from my union job and start my second life. Listen, man. You've got to be ready. You've got to be ready for some bullshit. I'm just telling you. I mean, there's bullshit in every job, but not like trucking. And one of the things I used to fight with every single one of my trainees, except for my last one, who was my trainer, but every single trainee I've had, I've always had to say, you can't let that bother you. Like if you get upset every time somebody cuts you off, you're gonna sit here being upset every fucking minute of every fucking day. It's okay to get upset every now and then, but you can't let all this little shit bother you. And that takes a while for it took a while for all my people to get over. But hey, it is gonna be, I can tell you right now that this job will be easier than whatever job you came out of. So at least you got that. And then if you got the finances, boom, there's nothing to stress about. I mean, financially, if you got that covered where you're not stressing out about because here's the problem with a lot of people that get into trucking is you have people that, and it's not any fault of their own because all these trucking companies push it before I think people are even ready. But you have all these people coming out here that have no idea of, like, listen, if you're about to retire, you're probably like me. When you were young, I remember when I was young, if I had like $3,000 in the bank, I thought that was like a bunch of money and a big ass cushion. The older you get, the more that, the more that changes. So you saying you're financially and mentally ready is different than a lot of people getting into this industry, because you saying that is probably a whole lot different than I remember thinking I was financially ready and mentally stable and all shit when I was like 24 years old buying a car with cars weren't that expensive back then, but let's just say a $350 car payment with $1,500 down, and I didn't have but $1,500 in the bank waiting for a paycheck to hit on Friday. So Bandit 579, you changing your transmission, diff fluid, oil on home time? Goddamn. You just reminded me of that shit, man. I don't even want to. I don't even want to drive to this goddamn truck. I got off this truck the other day, and I've left the house like one time, and that was to take my wife to go pick up her car from the shop. Oh man, I am not wanting to. I am so fucking lazy right now. I mean, there's people I need to see. And this is the bad part about it, right? And I got to force myself to do this shit. If nothing but to ground me to some degree on one aspect. All right. So one is I haven't even seen my fucking dad since I've been home, probably the last 3 times, because every time I relax and get done doing what I got to do, it's time for me to go. So I got to do that. Then there's a girl older woman, she's in her 70s now, who's not doing all that well. And I haven't seen her the last 2 times I've been out here. And I need to, like, she was the first person that spoke with me when I went to the mortgage company that I worked at for like 17, 18 years, however long that was. When they were kind of trying to pull me in, they were like, "Hey, why don't you come to one of our company dinners?" So I went there, and that definitely impressed me. I was not ready for that. But when I walked in, just how I am everywhere, I get there early, and she's there, and we start talking and everything. And some of you guys have watched my videos. I've been over to her house, but she's the one that I got this painting from here. And then there's a couple other paintings that I have around the house. She used to be like an art dealer, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, so time goes on. I go to work there, and then I become a manager. So now I'm over her and all these people. And we were pretty close. Odd couple. Old white Jewish lady at the time, young black, guy, whatever, hanging out, not doing a bunch of shit, but just hanging out. She'd be smoking her weed, and I'd be, just drinking my shit or whatever at her house or mine or wherever. And anyway, she's the one that made me realize that I didn't want to be a manager in the mortgage industry anymore. We were sitting there, and it was after a meeting, and I fucking unleashed in this meeting. And because we used to have the managers meeting, this was a smaller place. I mean, but the 2 owners, so there's one owner that would like lay down the law or whatever. Not lay down the law. He's been in some of my videos before as well. But we used to have our meetings. The numbers were off. Used to kind of go, not go off on us, but whatever it was. And then I would give my meeting directly after that, which was a young guy's mistake. Shouldn't have ever done that. And it was after one of those meetings that she said, "You really don't want to be a manager, do you?" And that made me really think about it. I thought about that for about a month, and that's when I was like, you know what? I don't. So anyway, long story short, I need to see her. She's getting older. She may be on her way out. Fuck, I could be on my way out. So I haven't seen her. I haven't seen the owner of the mortgage company I worked at. Very important person in my life. I mean, we've gone through so much shit together. Haven't seen him in a long time. So I need to get out of here and start doing some shit. All right, Johnny B. But back then, it was not fun to be over the road as a 21-year-old. Very boring. But nowadays, with automatics and all the comforts, I still would be against. I think the perfect time to get into trucking is once you've accomplished most of the shit that you need to accomplish in life. 21 years old, one of my boys is a truck driver. We were in the Marines together, lived with each other for years after that, and he became a truck driver. And I think that one of the things that you're not able to do, I mean, I look at some of the moves, and it wasn't a ton of moves, but some of the real estate moves, shit like that, I wouldn't have been able to even think about doing that. I'm not even sure if I'd have had a personal residence, because I might have been thinking, okay, well, let me just live on the truck and do all this, and that's fine. You can still double up on your money like that, but I wouldn't have been around to make those. I'm not even sure if I'd have been mentally in the space to be thinking about real estate. I mean, I think about even some of the shit that I'm doing now, where I could have been if let's take the same job, but I'm not away all the time. Like, just some of the stuff that I could have done financially that I don't even think about, or I don't know. I just 21 years old, I'm not sure that's the best time to do it, but definitely in your 40s and 50s, I think is a great time once you've matured. I don't even think I'd be mature enough to be a truck driver if I was like 21 years old. As a matter of fact, I know I wouldn't have been. Yeah, I know I wouldn't have been. All right, Mr. Shelton wanting to slap his fleet manager for giving me those Taco Bell money loads. I don't have that problem with my fleet manager. Like I said, I my fleet manager, first of all, he usually doesn't talk too crazy. Like people send me messages their fleet manager sends, and I'm like, man, I can't even imagine that coming out of his mouth, or those kind of things. I think sometimes I'm not sure what really is my fleet manager is about. Like sometimes I'm like, I think, you know what? He's like got that much wisdom to where he's not putting that shit out. And then sometimes I'm like, he's just too busy to do that. So I just don't know. But one thing I do know is that I get messages that fleet managers have sent their people that people send me, and I'm just like, I can't even imagine my fleet manager sending that message out. Or those kind of things. Yeah, Craig, I'm even my best fucking friend. I mean, we've been friends since we've been like knee high to jackrabbits, like 1978, right? So that's 1978. I've been friends with this guy longer than most of the people in here that are watching this have been alive. And I haven't even seen him in the last few times I've been out here. Um, yeah. All right, Johnny B. I was not mentally thinking about a house or saving money at 21. There was an older husband and wife team at Swift always telling me to invest in property around the country, but I just blew them off. You know, I can still remember the first time that somebody really spoke to me about money. It was like in 1995, and I was selling a car, Chrysler New Yorker, to a financial advisor. And he wasn't trying to talk to me to sell me anything. I'm 95. How old was I? I was like early 20s, mid 20s, some shit like that. And he wasn't preaching about the money, but he just said, I think he might have asked if I was putting any money in investments and stuff like that. And I don't think at the time, I don't even think I had health insurance, 401. I mean, whatever you can sign up for when you started a company, I didn't do none of that shit, I don't think. And he said, you may not remember it a year from now or 2 years from now, but 10 years from now, or more from now, you're going to remember what I'm saying. And he started talking about saving all this money and investing and stuff like that. And he said, because Lyle, what they say is life is short, but life is long if you ain't got no fucking money. And that's always stuck with me. All right. Do you think that some drivers enable the fleet manager to talk down to them the way they carry themselves? Absolutely. And I don't know if I have this saved, but I had a back and forth with my fleet manager And it wasn't anything disrespectful or anything like that. I don't think I saved it, but really what the conversation was I got loaded up all late and everything. I did everything I possibly could do. I'm getting loaded up in Bentonville, Arkansas, or basically Bentonville, Arkansas. And I'm going to drop the load off at the terminal because between me fucking around with the trailer that was fucked up and all this stuff, wasting time on that, I was not going to have hours on my 70 to get the load there. I let my fleet manager know that, all that stuff. So he's like, yeah, bring the load to the terminal, blah, blah, blah. Let me know if they start loading you. So I'm right. So I get called back. So I get there at 11 a.m. Supposed to be there at 12. And they kick me out, or they don't kick me out, but they tell me go to the truck stop or whatever. And that's when my fleet manager's like, okay, tell me when you start getting loaded. So I go back up there at 4 o'clock when they call me and say you're ready to get loaded. At 4 o'clock, I tell my fleet manager, okay, I'm getting loaded. And I don't get out of there till 9 p.m. So now I still have reasonable enough time to get to the terminal. So I'm like trying to coordinate what I'm going to do because the fleet managers put the load back on me. So I call driver lineup and I call them about 6 o'clock and I'm like, here's the situation. You know, I'm probably going to drop the load off there, you know, whatever. So after I get loaded, then they're like, well, and here's when you know a company's grown too fucking big. When I call up driver lineup and I say, hey, I got this load that's supposed to be to Dubuque, Iowa tomorrow at 5 p.m. I can get it there at 11 a.m. or not 11 a.m. I can get it there by 11 p.m. You know, whatever. And they're like, well, if the trailer has to go through the service department or it needs to go through the tractor or the trailer repair thing, then that's putting too much time. Listen, when you're that big of a company to where that, don't act like you're all about service and then say, here's a guy that's going to bring a load like, what is that, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 12, 13, 14, 15, 18 hours. Like you had 18 hours of leeway on that load. Not 18 hours leeway, but at least 6. And you aren't taking it because you're afraid that your tractor shop's going to put it in the shop and the load's going to be late. It was just fucking stupid. So anyway, I ended up sitting on the load and I was like, are you sure you don't want somebody to come and pick it up for me at like down the road so you don't got to worry about it going through? And they're like, well, they held you up, so let's just wait for their appointment. Okay, fine. Good load, I'll keep the load. So I kept the load, asked for a appointment change. So they keep saying, get it there when you get it there. And I'm like, can I just give me an appointment time? And they never do. And I get into this argument with not an argument, but this back and forth with my fleet manager. And he's like, Lyle, I don't know what you want me to say. You know, I'm doing all I can do. And I forgot how it was. And I was just like, listen, I was a manager in the mortgage business for 10 years. I had people that were, that expressed their frustrations with me during that entire time. And I took it. You know why I took it? Because that's why I got the check. So I think sometimes people will actually, I do think that they can sense weakness to some degree. Let me get back to your. And Craig is right. If you read the comment down there, he does not answer the phone like all that often. But so to answer the question, do you think some drivers enable fleet managers to talk down to them the way they carry themselves? When I first got out of training, or when I was in training, I had a trainer that was doing all kinds of crazy shit, talking down to me. Uh, I was letting this shit slide because I was just trying to get through it. Shitting in the truck, I found out. That's when I was like, it's done. So when everything blew up and everything, and it was like, I need to get back to the terminal, my fleet manager, and I didn't know it at the time, but he's a younger dude. I mean, somebody that, I just, really. Uh, it'd be like my son talking up to me or something. Not quite, but close enough in years to make that comparison. So my first shitty trainer drops me off at the campus inn. I think it's actually the campus inn was full. It was back in those days. So I'm at the Oasis, and the next day I call, and my fleet manager answers the phone, and I'm like, "Hey, this is Lyle, blah blah." He's like, the way he said what happened kind of made me realize that we were going to have a face-to-face conversation. So he's like, "Well, what happened?" And I said, "You know what? I'll be right down." And I went down there, and I think that the guy that trained me understood that I was a little bit more connected than he thought I was, not necessarily with upper people at Prime, but enough people to where I don't know. But I went in there the next day, and he was like, "Well, what happened?" And I was like, "What did he say?" And he said, "Well, you said that you guys it was a personality conflict." And I was like, "That's all he said?" It's like, "Yeah." So I could live with that. But I was not getting bullied I was not getting bullied by a fleet manager younger than me. It wasn't happening. So yeah, I do think that you can I do think that the way you handle yourself is how people treat you, and that's anything in life. All right, let's see. All right. Johnny B was lucky, still on his dad's health insurance. David thinks he's a comedian. When I get closer to making the move over to Prime, I'll definitely get in touch with you. Been following your journey from the beginning. I appreciate you. Yeah, phone number is not hard to find, man. Just give me a phone call. We could. I've never turned down a phone call with anybody over talking about shit. As a matter of fact, I think that old Craig can attest to that. And those of you guys that know, hey, those of you guys that are watching this that know Terry over at Tim Travels, boy, you want to talk about somebody that, hey, if anybody knows I'm willing to talk to somebody about some shit, it's Terry, boy, because Terry, boy, he puts some, man, you can't just talk to Terry. Anybody in here know who I'm talking about before I get all deep into this? I'm talking about Tim Travels, Terry. If you know him, just put it down in the comments below. No, but Tim in Salt Lake, I'm talking about Terry that has the channel Tim Travels. But hey, Tim in Salt Lake City, when I was talking about that situation earlier, he was one of the people that I called and said, "Here's what's going on. What can I expect?" Because the funny thing about it was when I graduated or whatever, got my CDL in Salt Lake City, I gave all the instructors $50 gift cards that were there. So, um, So yeah, Terry was one of those people, and he was one of the people that called when I was going through my shit and everything. All right, San Antonio for 34, man. I don't even take 34s to be honest with you, but I should with that good ass burrito I got last time I was out there. All right, Johnny Lyle won't sugarcoat anything and shoot you straight. I knew 100% what I was getting into when I got there. All right, so we're talking about Terry. Some of you guys just watch his YouTube channel, just know him for his YouTube channel. But Terry, and I consider Terry a good friend of mine. Terry, you can't just have a conversation with Terry. Like it can't be like you just wake up and be like, you know what, I'm bored. I got let me find somebody to call. You want to talk to Terry? That shit has got to be a mental commitment because those aren't just regular. Those are some deep ass conversations right there. And and Terry will get on a roll with you too. Like Terry will start talking about some shit, and you gotta stay. Listen, you got to stay engaged. But that little conversation within a conversation could take so long that by the time he gets around to like asking your opinion on it, like if you aren't paying attention to that conversation, then you look like a dick. So you can't have casual conversation with my man. But shout out to my man Terry. That's what I'm talking about. We need more people like him out there. Johnny B, I have a need legal help. I'll call Terry. Boy, hey, Terry will hook you right on up, man. And the funny thing about Terry was, he's dealing with all that shit going on at Prime, right? He's got all these people upset at him and all this shit about videos he's putting out. And I went there because, if I go to the terminal, if I got time or whatever, hold on a second. Hello?
Hello.
What's up?
I'm going to go pick up Iris.
Okay.
Just let you know I'm going straight there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, I didn't realize it. I think I remembered that, but we're going to have to do whatever we're doing tomorrow.
Well, if we go eat, there's no reason why he can't come.
Shit, I'm not going there with that little motherfucker screaming all over the place.
He won't be screaming all over the place.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. All right. Love you. I'll see you later. Plus, he's going to be too busy playing with his toy.
Okay.
All right.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye. All right. So, fuck, what was I talking about now? Damn. What was I talking about? Yeah, listen. These guys want to go want to go out to eat and drag my grandkid along, and this motherfucker be out here screaming all over the place for nothing. Listen. Once he's old enough to cut some grass and do some shit like that, then we'll be out in public. But until then, you keeping every little step your ass takes is gonna be around this damn house with me. I'm not going out there with people yelling all over the place. Can't do it. Yeah, we were talking about Terry. Oh, yeah. So I'd go into the terminal and I'd be telling my fleet manager, because Jason Seymour and my fleet manager would be sitting there. So Jason Seymour, he lit up in one of his videos, and my fleet manager, they're kind of in that area, and I'd be down there. Yeah, I was watching that video. I said I was rewinding that shit like I was Red from Friday, listening to him crack on you guys. But he was going in. It was just funny. I should have listened to Terry about the training shit. Man, I had a good time training. I wish I got lucky. Every single student I had was a beast. Every single one. Right out the box. I don't even think like within 1 or 2 drive shifts, we were spun up to like maximum velocity. If it was just for the money, I would go back and train. Literally, the money is ridiculous. Even with my, even people are saying, money's down, all that kind of stuff. The guy that trained me came back to Prime. I had to train him. And even then, if, people are like, well, it's not the same. Man, I ran harder with at least 2 out of the other students I had. Maybe it was less work with him, but if I needed money, I'd go train again. Now, what I do miss about having my last with my trainer on the truck was when I get ready to go blow out that trailer, and he's like, don't worry about that, boss man. I got that. That I miss. That was like music to my ears. When we get done with the shipper and we go to a truck stop and I'm getting ready to get my blower out to blow out the truck, and I hear him say, you don't got to worry about that. I got you, boss man. That I miss. All right, let's see. Do I like dogs? Yeah, I got a dog over here. As a matter of fact, I like my dog too much to have him on a goddamn truck. I can tell you that. Frankie. Anyway, she's chilling. I had another dog that passed away, so that really hurt a lot. She got old and she passed away, but that was, those are my girls right there. But I would never have them on a truck. It puts them and me in a bad position. But shoot, there they are right there. The little white one, she's the one that passed away. Hold on. So this is the one that she was like 12. She was 12 and she's like gotta be like 9 now. Miss them dogs. And dang, that's the one. Actually, shit. That's the one that passed away when she was younger. Shit. And my black dog, the one, she taught me a lot in life. Not that the other dog couldn't have taught me that. But let me find that picture again. All right, so there's 2 dogs. So the white dog, she was, she's a Yorkie Maltese. The other one's a Yorkie Poodle. So the Yorkie Poodle, she was like a baby, and the other one was already kind of older. So she'd see the other dog jumping up on the couch, and every single day she would try to jump up on this fucking couch, and she wouldn't fucking make it. Like she'd bounce off the couch. And we'd pick her up or whatever, and multiple times a day, she just and she would jump like she knew she was gonna make it every single day, or multiple times a day. And I was just like, man, if everybody fucking had that much belief in themselves, they'd be impossible to stop. And that's what I learned from her, because she was really going for it. Carrie, I didn't dress him up like that. That was my wife, but Craig, my students were cool, but the mental stress and fatigue, just being tired all the time. Rusty, hey, we were just talking about this early. Rusty is somebody that I would say would lean a little bit opposite to me politically and stuff like that. And, we seem to be able to have a rational friendship where everything's not based on what somebody believes or not believes or what anything happens and stuff like that. And I think that those are things that I miss right now where, we're almost getting to a point where those kind of things aren't capable of happening. I'm glad you came in, Rusty. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things I was talking about earlier in this conversation. And it's just really upsetting me that this is where we're getting to where everything is going to be a political line. And you can't buy a car from somebody if they're not the same political shit. You can't go to the store. You can't go buy a cake from somebody this, or you can't do this. It's just getting ridiculous. All right. That's going to be the hard part about going to Prime since I've been local to go through TNT. Johnny B, when my trainer that trained me back in 2017 or 19 came back to Prime, he had to do 30,000 miles again. Luckily, he was able to come back to me. Now, there was a little bit of training that was involved, and, it worked out. First of all, because he was never the trainer to be like, when he was training me, he was never the trainer to be in some dick swinging contest and act like he was the man and all that kind of stuff. Likewise, when the tables were turned, I understood what I needed to be. So I think he was lucky that he got me, because even a good trainer with the best intentions may actually go in trying to train somebody when all you had to do was just shut the fuck up and let the guy do what he knew how to do. And that was able to happen. And I think I would be perfect at training somebody that's already gone through that, because I've never had that feeling. I've never felt like I needed to, I was above anybody or anything like that. And if somebody said they had experience, I don't know, I can't explain. I never had to yield that power over somebody. And I've always been able to be happy with somebody that knows what they're doing and politely step my ass to the side and let them do what they needed to do until I needed to step in, should that happen. I want to grow up and adopt a dog and just live with her on a cottage. There you go. Can't go wrong with that. It's heartbreaking that people can't have a civil conversation anymore. That shit is hard. I mean, that right there is extremely hard. And those of you guys just came in, it was I every now and then will post some shit about some political stuff on Facebook, but I did happen to post some shit about this Air Force base or whatever that situation was that came up. And I had somebody that say something else about that, probably a few more words than I would have put on that conversation. But then I had my cousin come in, and my cousin was like, where do you get your friends from and shit like that? And it's just like, you know what? That is kind of what woke me into this, to really thinking about this. And anyway, it's just a shame to where we've got to that point. And I'm serious, where tow truck drivers aren't towing people that are from one political affiliation or another, or people aren't it's just, like I said, it's ridiculous. I can clearly remember people that I knew were in one situation. One situation I've spoke about the drug dealer that I knew back in the days and all that kind of stuff. He was. I need to do a video with him. Anyway, looks kind of like an older version of Mr. Rogers, just to paint the picture. But he was a Democrat, wife Republican. Now that's since changed to being both Democrat recently, but I can think of a number of different people that I knew that were just like straight up, one was Democrat, one was Republican, and it wasn't anything that, there's one of my friends that was just a joke. It was like, listen, I know how you're going to vote. You know how I'm going to vote. Why don't we just go ahead and sit it out since we're going to cancel each other's vote and just have a drink here and just don't worry about it. You can't do that shit anymore. This is just crazy. Do I think Kirk deserves? I don't think anybody deserves to get killed. I'm not sure that I would have been happy, but I wasn't happy about all the shit he was saying. All right. Is going to jail a good way to get your street credibility up? I'm assuming it probably would be, but I don't think my street cred needs to be up that high. All right. It should be a good since I want to do a lease purchase, so all the knowledge I can get, the better. Listen, Rusty's in here. He leases with Prime. I got Craig's in here. I know he leases with Prime. Those are two people I know that do very well. Could be better. Bandit 579. Damn, his truck is either paid off or about to be paid off. He's at Prime. He does well, even though, sometimes doing well doesn't mean you might not want to go somewhere. I've been thinking about that a lot during this home time. Not because there's anything wrong, but man, I'm just looking at literally 7 fucking years has flown by like it's nothing. And the only problem is anyway, I don't know. Romeo is burning leases with Prime. I hope you're doing well at Prime. I just never. Speaking of California, if California wasn't so expensive, I'd probably be right on my way back to California. I miss that shit. Like, really miss that. Lived in San Diego for years and years and years until, it's a long time ago now. I moved out of California in 94. I'm doing well. If I was single, I'd be... All right. I'm doing well. If I was single, I'd be rolling in it, though, not going to lie. But here's the problem. This is the problem with me. I need to have somebody to ground me a little bit. And I just think, fuck, if I can imagine how fast 7 years went by, I could imagine those same 7 years being 25 years going by that fast as well. I need something to at least ground me. I couldn't do it. I could not have got into trucking single and like no house or anything like that. And I know people can do it. My man, Romaine does it. I'm just not sure that I could do that. And if I did do it, I'd need to be at a place where I'm at now, where trucking is more or less a placeholder for me. Like I could fail out of trucking and still, how can I explain it? I don't know. I just couldn't rely on trucking 100% if I was on my own. I don't know. This has been the fastest 7.5 years of my life, and I'm about to turn 62. Time flies out here on the road. Man, I'm telling you, it just seems, man, if you think about this, Rusty, you're talking about 7.5 years. We've probably met at least 6 years ago. Like 6 years. Like, does that seem like 6 years has gone by that fucking fast? It's like we're in a alternate, we're like in a different dimension or some shit. Like, and I thought about that because that's kind of what scares me a little bit. I think my wife is more conscious than I am, but this shit flies by. Like, if you think about it, they can like they're on normal time and our time is like on a different kind of a schedule. So 7 years has gone by to them. In my mind, if you were to ask me how long do I feel has gone by if I wasn't taking in consideration just physical type shit and aging on that kind of a level, I'd say 3 years. Hamza, let me get into this favorite food here in a second. For those of you guys just came in, I used to have a barbecue cooking channel called No Hippie Barbecue. Built up a pretty big channel on that. I don't really even look at it anymore. It's probably got 54,000 subscribers on it. People leaving that every day or whatever now, but I haven't cooked a brisket in 7 years. My wife brings home a fucking brisket. $80 brisket. I was just talking to some people on the phone about this earlier. And I was like, man, that's like an $80 bet that I'm not going to fuck some shit up. Because back in the day, I used to be able to, cook up a brisket, be fairly confident that it's going to come out right. But after 7 years with no, I'll be honest with you, I don't even, I got a regular pit barrel smoker out there, the one that's like the big heavy duty metal one with the big old smokestack. I haven't used that probably. I think the last time I used that when we first moved into this house, like 2017, maybe. I got some pellet smokers. That's probably what I'm going to use because it's a lot easier. And then I got a big old Weber grill, the round one, but bigger than what most people have. I might do it on that. But if I cook that brisket, I'm a cheat. Meat is not, you're not going to be able to incorporate any more smoke into a meat after like 6 hours. So I'm probably going to throw that brisket on the smoker for like 6 or 7 hours. And then I'm going to wrap it up with some beef tallow and some butcher paper and throw it in my oven and finish it off in there. Because I didn't want to do no fucking barbecue when I was out here. I want to relax. Now she's out here testing me. All right, but anyway, what's my favorite food? If I had to say, it's not barbecue. I think that used to be my favorite hobby. But if you were to say what would I eat, like what do I crave when I come back home or whatever, a lot of that's sushi. So it's not, I don't know if I have a favorite, but sushi would probably be up there. All right, Johnny B. No, you're right. Time is flying. We are all past living half of our life already. That's another thing I keep thinking about. Is you just start having these people that that are, a lot of times it's people that are in way better shape than you. and these motherfuckers are dying, and you're just like, you just. I think this year has been the year that I've really like thought about my mortality than any, and a lot of it is just people that you see that were way better shape than you, and then they went out, or those kind of things. And then you just start thinking, I'm not sure I would think about it as much if I was like still at home working, because now it's just like you're not there working, so it's almost like I've thought about it like this. I've said, what motivates you to keep wanting to work and do all this stuff when you don't know if you're going to be alive a year from now or 3 years from now? And then it always has to be something else that's pushing you. And I've never been one of those people like to build generational wealth and all that kind of stuff. And, obviously you want to pass some stuff down, but that's never been like the purpose. But you have to look at it like that, or else then you become the guy that's like 58 years old going and buying your old Dodge Charger that you own when you were 18 years old and restore, you start doing shit like that. Oh man, to your wife's defense, your last live, you told her she could get one. I know. She brought that shit up to me too. That's exactly what she said too. If you could find a brisket less than $90, I didn't know she was gonna fucking do it though. All right, I'm assuming D's saying beef tallow. I've never done that. All right, so Rusty, you take off all the fat off of it, right? That you want to leave, a little bit less than a quarter of an inch, whatever, on the brisket. Season that up, whatever. Put it on the smoker. Then you're gonna. Usually, I'll put the other fat scraps or whatever in the oven, because if you're cooking at 275 degrees, it's gonna take forever for that beef fat to render down. So throw that in the oven at like 300 degrees, and that'll reduce that down. Then when you wrap your brisket, put that on a butcher paper or tin foil, some people like to use, then put some of that beef tallow on it, wrap it up. And then you could also baste it with that throughout the cooking process. 67. I don't know what you're saying. You're 67 years old. You need to do a parasite cleansing, eating sushi, no joke. Man, I don't eat sushi that much. But I've done one of them parasite cleansings. I was thinking I was going to see all kinds of shit. All it was some regular shit. And listen, I don't do it. I mean, I will do it more than my wife and whatever. Most of the shit I'm eating is going to be cooked. I do dabble a little bit more into the raw shit than my wife does. Now, Rusty, what you need, see, Rusty's going to live to be 175 years old because he's following all the principles. But what you need to do is get you, now, this just happens to be what I'm doing now, but a good bourbon right there, this stuff will hook you right on up. It'll cleanse out some of your parasites, maybe. I'm assuming. I'm joking. Get on some of that. Man, I've been so lazy. I haven't even gone to the bank and cashed my son's rent check yet. Probably have to wait till Monday now. As a matter of fact, Let me send him the message now. Whew. All right. Rolls are not sushi. They're just that rolls. I have both of those though. I'll have them I'll have it actual sushi sashimi, and then I'll have it in sushi rolls. But even the rolls are gonna be like raw tuna stuff like that. I'll do that. My wife won't do that. Johnny B does a fast every day. Does a kachava smoothie thanks to Erica Driveline. Good to go. I swear I feel the difference. It's helped me. Like I said, Rusty, this will help you feel good too. Maybe not long term, but at least for the next few hours. That stuff will do you right. Why do I charge him rent? Listen, first of all, there's a number of different reasons why I'm doing it. First of all, if it's a place, I'm charging him a lot less rent than it commands. Trust me. But first of all, I shouldn't be doing it anyway because what my main goal was to do was I never wanted to rent to one of my kids because I didn't want to trap them into that. So I'm renting to him with that being the stepping stone to getting his own place. So it's a real rental. You're going to be paying me once a month. You're going to be paying me by check, something that's traceable. And this is going to be done so when you're ready to get out on your own, the bank knows you've been paying X amount a month per month, or you've been paying X amount per month. You've been paying it. It's traceable. And, so on and so forth. Not charging rent is the worst thing I could have done. And listen, he already knows how to invest. I thought I was trying to teach him some shit the other day, like last time I was home. And he actually made me realize that I did not need to waste the energy teaching him how to invest. I mean, the conversation we had, because I was talking about, you know what, you need to open you up a, Merrill Lynch account, just put some money in, blah, blah. And he's like, I've talked to some guys in the union and, they put this much money away and, and I forgot how he broke it down, but he's like, after such and such a time, then you're going to get this much money from your union and this much money from this. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, he broke it down enough to me where I was like, okay, I don't got to worry about it. He's already figured it out. So. Yeah. Hey, Rusty, I could knock that out, especially if you got a little bit of soy sauce. Shit. Maybe a little bit of maybe wasabi and ginger might be asking a little bit too much, but falafel, man, I tell you what, that's some good shit right there. Falafel, man. As a matter of fact, I got some videos on that. Go check out No Hippie Barbecue. Matter of fact, shit. Yeah. Um, let me see. Let's see. Probably wasn't the best video. Probably one of my older ones. The video stuff was probably not all that good, but boom, there goes some falafel right there. I don't know if it's like zooming in on that with a little bit of tzatziki. And don't I hit you with oxtails too? Are you crazy? Yep. Yep. Anyway, let me get back to this. I do miss making those videos. I don't miss making the videos. I miss that community. All right, Johnny B, he's got the good info on the Union boys. Yeah, I don't even remember what he was saying, but it made enough sense for me to be like, okay, I don't got to worry about it. And plus, I'm trying to set him up to buy his own place. So my goal with him is to get him out of there within 2 years and onto his own shit. And it'll be good because it buys him some time, buys time for the rates potentially to come down and all that. So we'll see. And hey, Rusty, he's been paying rent for a while. So even though he's been living here, he's been paying rent. So he hasn't just been freeloading. Yep. Those of you guys that have, I don't know if any of you guys watched it, but there's the Netflix show about barbecue, and they got TNT barbecue on there. Oh, that's one of my boys. We're like chilling out here. He's like all on TV now and shit. This is out at, he came over to the house a while back. All right, let's see. What do we got? Give me just a second. All right, so, God damn it. And a lime juice. All right, yeah. Talking about we're going back to getting the tuna off the ship. You should make a pastrami in the smoker, smoking the brine brisket, take it to a whole new level. I got a video on that too. The problem is I don't even want to smoke the brisket I got. And for me to take the time to actually brine it and do all that to make it an actual pastrami takes way longer than I'd want. But go check that one out. Those of you guys that have not made pastramis from scratch. All right. All right, man. Yeah, let me get off of here. I'm just trying to find the motivation to get off of this house, or out of this house. But I will check you guys out later. I do appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I'm out.